When you talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, the word vulnerable doesn't usually come up. They're like the benchmark, right? The team everyone in the AFC measures themselves against.
Exactly. They're supposed to be the immovable object.
But then came that loss to the Buffalo Bills.
Ryan.
And suddenly, the feeling isn't respect. It's shock. Maybe even a little panic. The analysis we've seen says they weren't just beaten, they were thoroughly outclassed.
Which is a phrase you almost never associate with them, especially not in a big game.
Right. And when you lose that badly, and your star quarterback has, frankly, a shocking collapse, well, that sets off alarm bells. Big ones. Especially right before the NFL trade deadline.
The clock is definitely ticking now, loudly.
So that's what we're diving into today. What exactly went wrong in that game? What deep problems did it expose? And based on what we're reading, what specific fixes do they absolutely have to make before that deadline slams shut? Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, and the urgency here. It's real. They're sitting at 5-4 now, heading into the bye week.
Which sounds okay on paper for some teams.
For some teams, yeah. But for the Chiefs, it just confirms what some people were maybe whispering, that they're still far away from being the best team in the AFC.
Oof.
Yeah. So that loss to Buffalo, it wasn't just a loss, it was like a diagnostic test that they failed. It showed these flaws that, look, if they don't fix them now...
Their championship window might be closing faster than they think.
Exactly. They need to make some moves, and they need to do it immediately.
And the numbers from that Bills game, I mean, they really are kind of shocking when you dig in. It wasn't just one thing going wrong. It feels like a total system failure.
It really does.
Let's talk defense first. The analysis points out they just had no answer for the reigning MVP, Josh Allen. I mean, he was making big throw after big throw.
Yeah, the defense just couldn't get off the field. No pressure. Coverage wasn't tight enough. It was a long day for them. But, against Allen, that can sometimes happen.
Okay, fair. But the offense, that's where the real, systemic worry comes in, right? Patrick Mahomes, one of his worst games ever.
It really was. Finished with an interception, 0 touchdowns, and a QBR of 50.
50. We should probably explain that QBR number a bit for people listening.
Yeah, definitely. So QBR, total quarterback rating, it's scaled from 0 to 100. It tries to capture everything a QB does. A 50 basically means he was bang average for that week.
Just average.
Average for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it's almost unthinkable. It makes you stop and go, wait, what just happened here? It's not just a bad day at that point.
And that's the interesting shift, isn't it? It goes from, okay, Mahomes had a rough game to, hang on, maybe there's something bigger going on here. When you get beaten that badly, the sources say it leaves you with a lot of questions and few answers.
Big questions.
Which forces that really tough question. Is this current roster right now actually built to seriously want to contend for another Super Bowl?
And based on that Buffalo game and what our sources are highlighting about the underlying problems...
The answer feels like...
Yeah.
Maybe no. No, that's some changes anyway.
Yeah.
Which perfectly leads us into the core problem they need to fix.
Right. So if we accept that diagnosis, that something's fundamentally off, the finger doesn't necessarily point just at the passing game long term. We know Mahomes is, Mahomes, he'll bounce back.
Usually, yeah.
But the issue is the lack of balance. If defenses only have to worry about the pass, well, that makes things easier for them. Our analysis keeps coming back to the run game as a thing that really holds the offense back.
And we saw that play out against the Bills, didn't we? Isaiah Pacheco, their starter, he was out. And his absence was, quote, felt all game.
That dependence is scary. If taking one guy out makes your whole run game just stall, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah, and this is where the source of material we got had a bit of a hiccup. It mentioned Kareem Hunt as the leading rusher with those stats, which obviously hasn't been there for years. Little error in the briefing.
Right, a clear mistake there.
If you look past the name and just focus on the numbers they cited, the leading rusher still only managed 11 carries for 49 yards.
Exactly. The point the source was making, despite the name mix-up, is about that inefficiency. 49 yards on 11 carries.
Less than 4.5 yards per carry.
Yeah, that's just... The source calls it unacceptable for a team with Super Bowl aspirations. And they're right.
It really is.
And connecting that to the bigger picture, the whole Chiefs offense works best when there's balance, when defenses have to respect the run.
Otherwise, they just drop everyone back into coverage.
Precisely. If the run game is a known weakness, defenses can just pin their ears back and go after Mahomes or drop 7-8 guys. It makes play calling predictable, puts more strain on Mahomes, and the offense just grinds to a halt against good teams.
So coming out of this bye week, the message seems clear. They have to fix this. They need to be in a better spot, and that means adding something to that running back room.
Urgently.
Okay, so problem identified. The run game needs help. The prescription seems obvious.
Yeah.
Make a trade. Now, we've heard the big names linked to the Chiefs, right? The fantasy football dream targets.
Yeah. Brees Hall, though, getting him seems unlikely. Alvin Kamara is another one that pops up. Big names, big potential impact.
The big swing options. Expensive, splashy, cost you a lot in draft picks, partly salary too.
Definitely. High cost, potentially high reward.
But let me ask you this. If the core issue is just getting competent, reliable production alongside Pacheco, not necessarily finding another superstar, does that kind of big, expensive swing make sense? Especially with Mahomes' huge contract already on the books.
That's the real tension, isn't it? Because if the sources are right that they're far away from being the best team in the AFC, does just adding a decent backup really move the needle enough?
Are you putting a Band-Aid on a bigger wound?
Maybe. You could argue they need that transformative talent like a Hall or Kamara to actually jump back into that top tier.
That's definitely one way to look at it. But
Yeah.
And this is where our sources get really interesting. They push back on that idea. They actually suggest a much more targeted, budget-friendly approach.
Okay.
They're pointing towards Chuba Hubbard
Yeah.
from the Carolina Panthers.
Hubbard. Okay, that's specific. And
Right.
definitely not a blockbuster name. Why him?
Well, the thinking is pretty shrewd. It's about capitalizing on a situation happening within the Panthers organization right now.
Exploiting an internal dynamic. Makes sense. What's going on there?
Apparently Hubbard, who maybe they thought would be a bigger piece for them, has kind of been pushed aside by the emergence of Rico Dowdle.
Dowdle's been having a good year, some explosive plays.
Exactly. The sources say Dowdle's explosive play has completely overshadowed Hubbard. He's basically won the starting job.
Which leaves Hubbard as the odd one out.
That's the phrase they used, yeah. So for Carolina, a team that's struggling, maybe looking towards the future, Hubbard becomes this capable player they don't really need right now, a tradable asset.
And the Chiefs desperately need that capability. Okay, I see the logic.
And that's why he fits the Chiefs' immediate need, according to this analysis. Look, let's be real. He's probably not going to transform their offense
No.
single-handedly.
No, probably not.
But he's seen as a reliable, cheap alternative. And when you say cheap, we probably mean, what, a mid to late round pick?
Something like that, yeah. Way less than you'd pay for Kamara, or, God forbid, try to get Hall. No massive contract baggage either.
And critically, he brings that much-needed jolt of energy and quickness that was clearly missing when Pacheco was out against Buffalo.
Right. It fills the immediate void. It's not about finding another star. It's about stopping the bleeding, adding depth, adding competence where it's lacking.
It feels like a low-risk move focused squarely on fixing that specific weakness we talked about.
Yeah, a very pragmatic approach.
And the sources seem pretty convinced. They basically conclude that because that Bills loss was so bad, the pressure inside the building is huge, they believe the Chiefs will trade for a running back.
It's almost a necessity at this point.
And that Hubbard is a very likely candidate they should look out for. It's framed less as a luxury, more as like essential insurance against the offense completely stalling out again.
Makes sense. They can't risk that happening again if they want to make a real run.
So wrapping this up, the main takeaway for you listening seems to be this. The Chiefs rode back to being the clear top dog in the AFC. It might not actually depend on Mahomes playing perfectly every week. We know he's usually brilliant. Bad games happen.
Right. That Bills game was an outlier for him, you hope.
It really seems to hinge on making a smart, quick fix to the supporting cast, specifically that run game. And the trade market looks like the only way to do that right now. It feels urgent.
So what does this all mean? Well, it boils down to that classic contender's dilemma, doesn't it? It's about risk and cost.
Not so.
You've got the big name, trade option, Hall, Kamara, whoever. Huge potential upside, maybe transforms your team, but it costs a ton. Draft picks gone, huge salary hit, big risk if it doesn't pan out.
Versus
Versus the cheap alternative like Hubbard. Lower ceiling, maybe. He's not likely to be MVP, but the cost is minimal, the risk is low, and he directly addresses a specific identified need. It's a different way to manage your resources and risk profile when you're already paying a QB top dollar.
a much more financially careful move.
Exactly. They need a fix, but maybe not the most expensive fix, maybe the smartest one.
Okay, so that leads us to the final thought.
Yeah, here's something to chew on as you watch the trade deadline news. If a team like the Chiefs, a top contender, ends up fixing a key weakness by grabbing a player like Hubbard, someone who's basically become available because a teammate unexpectedly got hot, like Dowdle overshadowing him, What does that tell us about the real value of solid, proven, but maybe currently expendable players across the league? Are GMs secretly hunting for these kinds of bargains, guys, whose value is temporarily down because of their situation rather than just chasing the big stars?
So are good castoffs the new market inefficiency?
Could be. It'll be fascinating to see if the Chiefs pull the trigger on a move like the Hubbard one, kind of proving that theory, right? We'll definitely be watching.